So to begin with, I would like to thank DineSkyT for inviting me today to share with you the research that I have been doing at Engineering Systems Group at DTU, Technical University of Denmark. And so with this talk, I would like to present you some of the advances that have been going on in the past years in new media technologies and for the understanding of data. Concretely, for the presentation of data. So for the past 5 years, data science, concretely data visualization, and also new media technologies have joined forces in order to foster data analysis, data visualization, and ultimately to better present insights to foster decision making. So first of all, I would like to know here whom of you have heard about applications with virtual reality, augmented reality, or tangible user interfaces that have as a purpose the analysis of data. Please raise your hand. How many people? 1 people, 2, 3? Okay. So hopefully by the end of this talk, all of you will have seen some applications with new media technologies for the understanding of data. I also want to say that I'm a designer, and the interest that I have here working in the field of data and doing this research is to understand the visual communication strategies that we can use today with new media technologies to understand the value of data. So I want you to go back now to some years ago. So 100 years ago, I would say, and to see the communication dynamics in this image. So as you can see, that's a board meeting, there's people talking, and we can see that there are several interactions basically based on verbal communication, and there are also some documents. So let's look today, how is it like? So it hasn't changed much. So here we have also another meeting, and concretely, what do we have? So we have verbal communication, we have also body language, eye gaze. Eye gaze is a key component when you're talking to your interlocutor to understand if he's following, if he's understanding. Then we also have prompts, meaning boundary objects such as sketches, also drawings, in order to foster collective understanding. Now, with the appearance of new media technologies, the dynamics have changed. So as you can see, in this case that we have kind of a workshop, we see how the engagement fosters to one direction. So, and that is the case today with most presentations. When we have a screen, there's this unidirectional direction, and this creates a difference. This creates a separation between the presenter and the audience. So, and that's what we're having today. So that is our case right now. I'm giving a presentation, that's a lecture, and where is the space of dialogue? The space of dialogue will be held at the end. But now what I want you to understand and be critical about, is this the right way to present certain type of insights with data? Does this foster the understanding of the data you have been working with and you have analyzed? So this is the core of the research that I'm doing. And one of the questions arising is how can we use immersive data visualizations to support the communication of data? So with immersive data visualizations, I mean data visualizations that use new interaction and display technologies used to support analytical reasoning and decision making. So the term was generated 5 years ago, 2015, in Monash University in Melbourne. And basically what interests me is how this can foster the understanding of data, the collaboration when you present data so that your interlocutors really understand the point you're making in order that they take good decisions. And how these new media technologies foster the communication of data. Now, I'll first show you new interaction and display technologies before bridging towards data science. So how many people recognize this scene? Okay, so this scene comes from Ghost in the Shell, a movie from 2017, and I'm showing you this in order to understand that this movie is placed 10 years from now, in 2029. So humans will be augmented with technology. However, the reality is that this is already present today, and we don't have to look at dystopian futures. All right, so history is that in 1968, Ivan Sutherland at MIT invented the first head-mounted display. And as you can see here, it was hanging from the ceiling, and there was hardware output into the computer display, overlaying a virtual cube that you will see on his reality. So this is the first head-mounted display in 1968. Right. Now, with this, I want to proceed with the Virtuality Continuum. So this is how we can place the technologies, new media technologies that we have today between the real environment and the virtual environment. So let's first situate that mixed reality is all the technologies in between the real environment and the virtual one, right? So we will start with the real environment. Let's look at the term tangible user interfaces, defined in 1997 by Hiroshi Ishii at MIT in the Tangible Media Group. And basically, this stems from the physical embodiment of digital information. What does this mean? This is digital information coupled to everyday objects. Let's have a look. This is Inform. This is a tangible user interface to render 3D data in a dynamic way in order that we can change and dynamically see the data, for example, for mathematical understanding, or also, as you could see, to render bar charts. So this is one example of tangible user interface. Let's proceed now to augmented reality. Augmented reality, according to this criteria, is a type of mixed reality. And we will have see here this experience virtual shark for Microsoft HoloLens, which overlays a generated computer shark in your environment. So it's a virtual stimuli overlaid to your reality. Let's check now augmented virtuality. Who has heard about the term augmented virtuality here? Okay, that's good. So basically, it's the opposite of augmented reality. It's about introducing a real world data input into the virtual world. In that case, the hand gesture was controlling how did the gestures in the game. So basically, another way of looking at this is Google Maps. Google Maps, if you allow for it, it has your location. It has your location, real-world data in your screen. So this is augmented virtuality also. And let's look now at a completely virtual environment, which would be, in that case, virtual reality. So you're totally immersed in the experience. So you have here a head-mounted display, and you see how, in that case, the user, he has a virtual avatar, which is embodied and follow his gestures, mimicking. So now we have an overview of the Virtuality Continuum, and you see some new media technologies that I will show you how can they be used for the understanding of data. So what are the implications of using immersive visualizations? Basically, so they're beneficial for depth-related tasks because in the case of tangible user display, it's in the real world. In the case of virtual or augmented reality, they have a 3D rendered image, which increases the spatial understanding. Also, research proves that there's a higher level of engagement compared to desktop, and we define engagement as the state of focused attention. Now, there is this wow factor. And what is this wow factor? Slater, which is a researcher in virtual reality, defines these as this surprise effect. This surprise effect that we have, for example, in a virtual environment when we feel that we are in a place where we are not. Place illusion, as he calls. In augmented reality, it would be having this virtual image on top of the real world. You know it's not there, but however, you have this surprise. So, and this relates a lot to the hype in virtual and augmented reality technologies. Now, natural interaction techniques are simply gestures which are more close to us in the real world. For example, now I'm just holding this. So how would I do, or how would I grab an object, for example, this water of bottle in the computer? I will click, I would drag, and I would drop it. We have learned to do this, but this is not natural. The natural way is to just grab it and put it. And virtual and augmented reality technologies with tangible user interfaces allow to use these natural interaction techniques. Now, with augmented and virtual reality, we have embodied interaction with virtual objects, meaning that if the hardware allows for that, we can interact with different parts of our body with the virtual world. And finally, in the case of tangible user interfaces, the world itself becomes the interface. Let's look now at this bridge between the two areas in order to foster data understanding. So we have the Virtuality Continuum that you saw with data visualization. Let's look at an example of tangible user interface. In that case, it's Inform, also by the Tangible Media Group at MIT, presented this year at TAE. So basically, what you can see, it's a real-time variable haptic feedback that conveys different properties to the different layers. So this can be used in the case of seismic multi-layered data in order to sense the different properties of the layers. So usually this type of data is visualized by cross-section cuts in a 2D screen. And this is a bit difficult in order to understand the spatial properties of this seismic data on one side, and on the other, it doesn't allow to get this intuitive understanding of how is the data. And this can be useful for example, oil and gas domains. So here we have this example. With augmented reality, I will show you DXR, which is a prototyping toolkit by the Harvard Visual Computing Group. And as you can see, you input your data, in that case in the Unity interface. You input your data and you have different interfaces allowing you to manipulate a three-dimensional scatter plot. So in certain cases of analysis, this can be useful, especially for multidimensional data. We have augmented virtuality. This example is pretty interesting because it mixes augmented virtuality with augmented virtuality with augmented reality, exactly. And it's the case of the Japanese company MOL, which in that case you can see that there's real-time data which is fed from the ship's radar. And at the same time, the ship has this overlay in the DEX ship. So this is very useful in the case of operational decisions for narrow and heavily trafficked waters, for example. Finally, let's check in the virtual environment. This is a tool for business analytics that you all will know, Power BI, and in that case it has an integration, which is a pilot in research for multidimensional data. In that case, as you can see, a three-dimensional scatter plot. So the point here, as you can see, is to check the data with another lens, in that case for data exploration and analysis. So here now you have an overview of how these new media technologies can be used in data visualization to foster the understanding of data. Now this leads me to the research that I'm doing here at DTU. So basically, as you all know, the data science cycle from the Dell IT blog in that case stems from definition of the problem, exploratory data analysis, and my interest here in the research that I'm doing is how to explain the insights and how to explain data with these new media technologies. So these immersive data visualizations, as I have explained to you, in order to foster data understanding and collaboration. So what are the implications? Basically, at an individual level, visualization amplify cognition by building upon external resources. So usually what they do is they offload our working memory. At a group level, visualizations support communication and enable joint understanding by the creation of a common mental frame of reference. And this is extremely useful in collaborative settings. And finally, immersive data presentations enable new dynamics and narratives. And that is the focus of my research. And I will be sharing with you now some of the work that I have been doing at DTU. In that case, this is business data. This is sensitivity calculations for the valuation of a company, the estimation of the price that a company has. This is a real case. So in this case, so this is the information that is presented by business consultants to the company, and along, of course, with a narrative. So how about presenting this information, for example, with augmented reality? Would this foster the understanding of data? So with Versabe, which is a company in Copenhagen, we built this prototype. So as you can see, this is intended to use in a multi-user setup around the table, bringing the discussion to the center of the table. And you can see here that the data visualized is exactly the same that there was in the table. So we conducted a small experiment and a workshop. And the feedback that we got from the business consultants was the following. So first of all, about comprehension of the data. The data which was much more comprehensive and easy to understand. The values were much more clearer, and ultimately it became much more obvious for the client. On another side, another point that was brought up is that this could be done on a screen or a paper. Right, the visualization could be done on screen or paper. However, this hype effect, this school effect, but I would like to be critical here and bring back this idea of overlaying on top of your reality an object that is not there. This creates an impact and brings this engagement and this focus of attention. And we can use this in order to foster the understanding of data. And of course, the dynamic opportunities are interesting because we can make people collaborate in a different way. Now, why all this? Ultimately, in order to improve the decision-making process. And if we create this bridge, ultimately it can look like that this is technology push, but it's not about that. It's about creating the bridge in order to foster human understanding with data for human behavior. So to improve the understanding of communication and interaction with data thanks to new media technologies. Right, as a conclusion, basically immersive data visualizations, as I have explained to you, for the past 5 years are currently being researched in academia and the industry, and there is an ongoing collaboration. It's an area of research that is growing. It allows novel types of dynamics and narratives in presentations, as you can see, and it fosters collaboration in a different way. And it makes the presentation of data more comprehensible and more memorable, ultimately because it's something novel, you have not seen it. Therefore, you will have a better retention. And now I have an announcement here. I'm currently looking for engineering companies that are interested in enriching their communication, their strategies of communicating with data with new media technologies. So if it's your case, please let me know, because I would like to look at possibilities for collaborating. And finally, I would like to say that new media technologies are already here and will be implemented more and more in the workflows in the upcoming years. So why not start looking at the possibilities of including immersive data visualizations in the presentation of your data in order to boost the value of your data? Thank you.